I watched this really interesting clip from a podcast recently by Stephen Bartlett. And if you don't know who Stephen Bartlett is, he's a very successful, I think early 30s entrepreneur. He is one of the dragons from Dragon's Den, or sharks from Shark Tank if you're in America. And he said this: if you don't brush your teeth today, no one will notice. If you don't brush your teeth for a week, very few people will probably notice. But if you don't brush your teeth for 5 years, you are probably going to end up sat in a dentist chair screaming in agony while he pulls all your teeth out. And the question is, at what point did that happen? At what point did you suffer with these dental issues? At what point did your teeth start rotting? Was it the day that you decided not to brush your teeth? Was it the first week, or the first month, or the first year? And I've been giving that a lot of consideration today, because it's something that really hit me. It is the small things that we refuse to do every single day that means that we miss out on having the things that we want to have in life. I'm always brought back to this idea of these small changes that we make consistently, and it's something that I had struggled with a lot over the years. There was always a result that I wanted, and I always fantasized about this idea of this huge amount of effort that I would put in over the course of a week or a month or a year, and then suddenly I would have the thing that I wanted. I would have the body that I wanted, or the successful business, or the relationship. And life doesn't work that way. If you ever speak to anyone that is successful in some regard, so let's consider someone that has their own business, that is financially successful, what you often see is what looks like an overnight success. It looks like that person created a business and within the space of a year it suddenly took off. And what you don't see is all of the small, seemingly inconsequential efforts that they put in for sometimes decades to get where they were. It may be that the business that got them rich was created within a year and took off. But what you don't see is all the failed businesses that came before it, all of the attempts that that person made at success and failed. And more often the case that that person has been running that business for 10 years and has just been grinding every single day slowly, and has had to sacrifice massively, has had to sacrifice the relationships with their family, with their children, with their friends, their social lives, and sometimes their health to get where they are now. And all we see is a seemingly overnight success. The older I get, the more it occurs to me that it is the small things that we do every single day that make the biggest changes over time. I think about my health, for instance, the body that I want to have, the body I'm working towards. It is not the 2 hours that I spend down the gym when I have the time to do it. It is the 10 minutes that I spend in the gym when I don't have time to do it. These are the things that are really important. It's the fact that we are doing something towards our goals, even if that's small, and we're doing it consistently. Finance is another really good example of this. You know, I thought to myself the other day, if every day when I started working, when I was 16, and I was 15 actually, when I first went into the working world. And if I'd have saved £1 every day that I worked since I was 15, I'm 34 now, I'd have had a small fortune, not just for the £1 that I put away every single day, but the compound interest that came with that. Finance I find really interesting because the numbers are clear. It's easy to see. You add 8% interest and you put away £1 every day over time, that's a huge sum of money. But it's more difficult to see that in more nuanced things like your health, for instance. There are no specific metrics that measure your overall health. You can measure your weight, you can measure your level of sleep, or whatever it might be, but there is no one single metric that can give you an idea of what your health is. And so that's much harder to track. But the same idea of these small efforts compounded over time apply to health, they apply to relationships, they apply to finances, they apply to skills and hobbies, whatever it is. Skills especially is another one. I think most people, there is something that they would like to learn. I've always wanted to learn the piano. Never attempted it. I play a little bit of guitar, but never attempted the piano. And the truth is that if I had spent 10 minutes a day since I was, I don't know, in my 20s when I first had an interest in it, I'd probably be a pretty decent piano player, like a passable piano player by now. And so what I want to do is invite you in this video to think about what it is that you want to have in your life, what it is that you want to create, to manifest, whatever it is. And think about the amount of effort that you have put in to getting that thing. And now ask yourself whether you would have had that thing now if you'd have put in small, consistent effort over time. Because for most of us, the answer to that question is yes. Or we would certainly be much closer to having that thing than we are now. Coming back to finances, there's a really good example of this. There's someone in my life, let's just say, that believes that they are going to invest in this golden stock that is suddenly going to take off. And they have this idea because they spend too much time watching online content about people investing in crypto or these one-off golden stocks that suddenly take off. And I feel very sorry for them, because what initially happened is they put some money into a stock after thinking that it might take off. And it actually did. So I think they put in like £200 into this stock, and it took off, and he had something like 1,500 quid, £2,000. And so he felt like some pro investor. And because he was emboldened by this new sense that he was this Wolf of Wall Street character, he put all of his investments plus his savings into another stock that he thought was going to take off. And guess what happened? He lost it all. Then he actually took out a loan to try and recoup his losses, and guess what? He lost that too. And I feel sorry for them, because they have the same mentality that I used to have about bringing change into my life, that there was suddenly this huge amount of effort that I could put towards something, and that in a very short space of time I'd be able to bring about massive change. And the older I get, the more I realise that that just simply is not the case. It is the small things that we do over time. And so I've tried to point them in the direction of people like Warren Buffett, who, in terms of investing, you'll learn very quickly that it is not sexy, that investing is not like we see it as it's portrayed online, this kind of Wolf of Wall Street. It's not about that. It's about putting small amounts of money away consistently and letting compound interest do the rest of the work. It is putting the money away consistently and forgetting about it, so that in 30, 40, 50 years time, you suddenly look at your account and realise that you've got 6, 7 figures in there. And it happened without you even knowing about it. It was such a small, inconsequential amount of money to you that you didn't notice it leaving your account. And suddenly in 30, 40 years time, you look back on it and realise that you now have enough money to leave your job and retire and never have to work again for the rest of your life. And I do think about this concept a lot, about what are these really small, seemingly inconsequential actions that I could have done over the years that would have had really very small amount of impact on my daily life, that would have compounded. I've always wanted to get in really good shape, and I'm being consistent with going down the gym now, but there are times where I have gone down the gym and pushed hard for a couple of weeks, even a year in some cases, and actually made myself quite ill, and ended up not getting the results. You know, the opposite effect, if anything. I didn't get the results that I wanted, and I made my health worse. Whereas now, yeah, I'm really busy, but I'm doing as much as I can, as often as I can, to get towards that goal. So let's say that one of your goals is to lose some weight. And let's say you also have a really busy career. Let's say you're doing 12-hour days and you've got to commute either side of that. So 14 hours a day, you are dedicated to work. And of course, outside of that, you need to sleep, you need to eat. You have very little time to lose weight. Regardless of how busy you are, there is probably something small that you can do towards your goal. And in the case of maybe this person that's working 14-hour days, maybe it's that you go for a 10-minute walk around the block after you finish dinner. This 10 minutes, you're not really going to notice it. It's 10 minutes of your life every single day, but I guarantee that if you did that consistently over time, that you would lose weight. Could you get faster results trying to lose weight? Absolutely. If you had more time to dedicate to it, you could spend more time, maybe go to the gym. You could spend more time at home preparing your meals. But the reality is that you don't have the time. And so rather than giving up on this idea that you can lose any weight at all, the idea that you could lose weight much slower but more consistently over time is something that most people don't comprehend. It's this all or nothing attitude. They want instant change. But the change that we want to bring about can actually be easy. It just won't happen as fast as we want it to. And I think once we can get over this idea that we're not going to get instant results, this is a mindset that I really suffered with for years. I want, particularly as someone that has ADHD, I want instant results. I want the thing and I want it now. If I make a decision, I want to have it. And I really struggle with the boredom and the tedium of doing small things every single day. But unless you get over that attitude, unless you get over that mentality, then it is very unlikely that you're going to end up with the thing that you want. I really hope this video has given you some cause for thought, because when I saw that Stephen Bartlett clip this morning, it definitely did that for me, and I've been thinking an awful lot about it. This concept that these small changes over time are what create huge change, and it is not the big changes that are done in a short space of time that really have any effect whatsoever. So I hope this video has been useful to you. Thanks for watching. As always, I appreciate your time. Thanks very much, and I'll speak to you in the next video.